I'm getting my hat on because it's fucking freezing, man.
Dome insulation.
This is like one of those boy really baggy hats that hangs off the back, but I bought it for Wish, so it's just a beanie.
You bought it for Wish? So where's the whips and the chains and the bondage gear?
We've done a lot of stuff in the previous episode, namely putting an engine in. I mean, to say it's been put in is really stretching the point.
It's a bit ambitious because it's not actually attached.
It's more or less positioned where it needs to be in the car. And we're now going to start calling it a car because it's got an engine. So the engine is in place, but we are in no way, shape or form ready to move on. That is because we need to make mounts. We need to make sure it fits.
We need to chop stuff.
So in this episode, what we're going to do is all of those things. And the shopping list looks a bit as follows. We're going to have to cut this casing considerably because, as you can see, it fouls quite a bit, man. So that's going to get a big old chop. That is the torque bar mount. Originally in the MX-5 there was that torque bar that ran from the gearbox to the diff. That's not going to work in this instance, so it needs to go. We also will need to look at engine mounts. Now, as you can see, the chassis book plans have this notch cut out for it. Well, I say notch cut out, there's basically 2 bars with a gap here. There's no mention at all of what it's to do. The book plans just drop you in a gully after you've welded it up and don't give you any points on what it's meant to be. So what we're going to do is freestyle. This is where it starts to get a bit adventurous. I've got some plans for how that's going to work, and we'll cover that in a minute. Other things to note is, now that we've got the gearbox in, the reason I left all of the front dash stroke scuttle area loose is I want to make sure it clears it. So we're going to finish that off in this episode and get that ready. And then lastly, what we're going to look at is getting the diff lined up. I don't think we'll get it all welded in this episode, but we'll certainly get it lined up and in position so that it's ready to accept the prop shaft. Now, why is that a big point that we have to cover at the moment? We're going to have to shorten the prop shaft, and I'll be honest, I ain't doing that because it's pretty sketchy at the best. But I want to make sure that my line of drive from the gearbox into the diff is correct, and that will determine a lot of where this height goes. Now, logic would dictate that the book plans will say, well, you know, this is welded up and right, but I think because of what we're doing with the gearbox and engine mounts, there is a chance for this engine and gearbox to be slightly off centre, and I want it to be exactly right. So that's why this hasn't been finished yet, but will be soon. First things first, let's make some engine mounts.
Hi everybody! We're about to cut many things. What we need is engine mounty much happiness, but we need it wider. So we're going to go for the same height, but we want to go to 5 inches wide so that Tommy can tack that and gusset and flange it onto the chassis. So we're going to cut out this section, then another, and basically make a plate which is going to hold the engine in. So this is going to be fun. I'm going to be here for many hours because this is 5mm thick steel, so many grinder discs, many decibels.
Whilst Mechanical Hodor's doing his plates of doom, I have been chopping and grinding, and I've got the scuttle panel, oh Jesus, wet, sorted out, and it looks a little bit like this. Now, I'm starting to learn a bit when it comes to the welding, make life easy for yourself. It's all prepped and ready to go in, so before I do this, I have a quick measure here, and I am 25 centimetres, a quick measure here, and I'm slightly under, so this will need to go a bit more like that. Throw on a quick tack weld. Once that's done, I'm going to take these off. And question what I done wrong.
I just don't have the laughing in me to make the noises that requires.
Right, what should have happened there is this. And we put these here. These are the best things I've ever bought, man. See, having this with the wee ledge, absolutely inspired. Excellent. Voila! That's that part done. Now all we need to do is link this up. That's inside done. Get the clamps!
Whew, that was fun.
Really?
Look at that, I've got my war wounds. You're supposed to wear thick gloves when you do stuff like this, which I remember usually after I've been burnt.
If only
Yeah, we had a selection of them. So that's us. We now have from that big monstrosity 2 5x5 plates of half centimetre thick steel, which is going to serve as the.
It's not half centimetre.
That's 5mm.
Oh,
10mm a centimetre now.
Oh yeah, sorry. You know what? I'll just shut my face.
So it's very rough cut. You can see that they're definitely not square and even and whatnot, because cutting this stuff, it's quite a challenge for the grinder.
How many discs?
1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Admittedly, they weren't full discs because they were reuse of the tubular cutting station, which actually needs basically the first 10% of any disc. So with this whole big pile of sort of partially used discs lying about. Nice. But this is good. So the next thing we need to do is turn the camera around and see what Tommy wants to do next. Because it's usually one instruction at a time with me.
Can I have a bovril?
You can definitely have a bovril, mate.
Will we have a bovril?
We'll have a bovril. Let's go and get the bovril on. Well, whilst the bovril is reaching a temperature that can be ingested by humans, we are drilling through our new plates to make holes for an engine to land in. So we're now going to take this to this station, de-equip the step drill.
How much time on display here? Oh, there we go. Alright guys, so what we're doing whilst mechanical loader is sorting out engine mounts is the last 2 bits of chassis brace that needs to go into the transmission tunnel. Now this was put off for a wide variety of reasons, but if I'm being really honest, the most important reason for it is because it's got 2 compound cuts on it and it's a pain in the arse. So what we're going to do here, after the last fiasco I had doing the front, is show you how to properly do this. Now, to start off with, what I've done is an 18° and an 18° parallel cut like that. It also calls for a 10° and a 10° cut, also parallel. The reason being, this will slide in here like this, but if we don't do any parallel cuts for the 10°, it won't come up and meet here. So, it's got to go in like this and slant like this. Seems simple enough? Well, you'd be right, because it is. But you've just got to get the tongue out the side of the mouth and make sure that you actually do the measurements right first. That old measure twice cut once thing. And to do that, it looks a bit like this. 2 main angles cut. Now I always go with the steepest ones because they're the trickiest normally. Mark out the second cut and you do that by hand. So I'm going to project 10° down like that and then rotate 10° down at that. Now, when I go to link these, I will set to my 18°. And then I will take from the first line here to the second line here, and if it doesn't match up when you tie these 2 lines in, that should double check. That means you've done something wrong. Once you've got them done and all etched on, cut it out by hand using the angle grinder of great success. Repeat the process on the other side, making sure when you mark out the bottom side that it's parallel to the top side, not the other way around. Because that will cause you to scrap your workpiece. Once you've done that, drop out the other side, then it's time to go to the bench sander. Give it a tweak just to make sure all your angles are perfectly flat and you've got no high or low spots. Once that's done, line up in the car, make sure it fits, smile and revel in your brilliance when it does, and then dig out the welder.
I don't really know if it's considered eating or drinking per se.
Would you eat gravy?
Would you drink soup?
Well, you do drink soup, don't you?
But at what point does soup become eating and not drinking?
Well, see if it's a good Scotch broth, and you'd eat that, because that's chunky as you like, isn't it?
That's not so much a soup as a stew.
So what we have here, guys, is Mechanical Hodor's plate that he's cut out. Now, you'll see here, we've got 3 holes. That's templated off of the original engine mount. We have 1 main bolt that bolts it in, and you've got 2 rubberized locating dowels that will sit top and bottom. Now, I'm going to retain the bottom one as being a locating dowel, however, I am going to merge these top 2 in. The reason being, this is probably going to be stiffer than the ones you'd find in the MX-5 subframe. So, if they're not going to move and it's going to be a tighter fit, I am going to elongate this so that the angle of the bolt that comes down will sit into here, and then once it's in, it will bolt up with a big fat washer. So, to elongate it, you do something that looks a little bit like this. 52 degrees. 52 degrees. Okay. That'll do it. While we're sitting here with the welder out and I've got my lid on, we're rude not to finish this wee bit, but we couldn't work out without the gearbox in. Now we can. You get the idea. Hello from under the car! Now we need to think about the gearbox. Now, as we've discussed in the earlier episodes, there used to be a torque bar and this gearbox would be suspended off of the diff at the back. As you can see, we don't really have the room for that anymore. So I've had a look on the back and there was some form of bracket. Don't ask me what it was for, but it has left behind a couple of what looks like M10 or M12 bolts. So these two are going to form the basis of our new mount. The only problem I've got is what do we use for the rubber mount part? I went away and had a wee think about life, and I'm pleased to say I think I've got a solution for this gearbox mount. Looks a bit like this. Pretty simple. This is off of, I think, a Mark 4 or 3 Ford Fiesta. I'll give you the part number, hold on. So it's Quinton Hazel and it's an EM4424. Support Motior engine mounting. Don't know. It's pretty basic though. The reason I've went for this, it's nice, it's compact, it's square, it's symmetrical on the top and the bottom. And it's compact. Now, the compact is going to be the key to this because I have a lot of space in this transmission tunnel, and if I do anything that's particularly complex, I'm probably not going to get in and out with any level of ease. So this is my plan. Hello, this is very tight. So what I'm thinking is, the mount's probably going to live around about here, okay? Now if I was to make a plate that goes across the bottom of the chassis, and then a drop plate that goes from these two bolts down to the top bolt in this, that's going to be pretty simple. It's also going to hold that square level and in place. So little bracket here and then a plate going across here. Doesn't get any easier than that, does it? The only problem I'm going to have is how to get the box out with the mount in place, because if I put this plate on the bottom and then undo this bolt, I'm probably not going to have the clearance to get anything out, or indeed get this thing out to move the gearbox that way. And that's going to be tricky. These are some of the things you need to consider when you're welding up, is how it comes apart again. So what do we do with that? I'll be honest, I don't really know yet. I think the simple solution would be to make the bottom plate removable and then just have the whole assembly bolt in from the bottom. The only issue I'm going to have with that is having it bolting onto the bottom of these pipes. I'd rather weld it. So plan B would be to have this plate sit here and have a bracket that comes across and holds it, and then have a plate welded on here. The beauty of that is, if I undo these two bolts, which I'll be able to access from the bottom, then we're all good, because then the bolts can go that way, and I can also probably still get this one out without any dramas. So I think having a gap here, so I can get these two bolts out and clear, is going to be the sensible way to do it. So that's what I need to make up. There we go guys, one mounted engine and gearbox all in the car. Not bad, eh? It was also a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be, so not to jinx it, but I'm quite happy with that. It is cold. It's exceptionally cold. We're at -7 here at the moment. The next thing for the engine and gearbox thing is to take it all back out again, which is wonderful. I can't get the side of this gearbox trimmed with it in place, so it's going to have to come out so I can do it properly. Plus, we need to strengthen all these mounts that we've just welded in, and that's going to be a lot easier with the engine out. After that, we'll start looking at the diff. I promise we'll start looking at the diff. Thanks for tuning in guys, thanks for watching. Everyone who's Patreon, thank you so much. Everyone who's not, man, I'm running out of welding gas. Please, if you can help out, if you can do anything, £3 a month, honestly. Really appreciate all the support if you can. Also, you get merch, free cups. These are amazing. How could you not want one of these? So jump over at patreon.com/toolsandtrack and help a brother out. We're also going to look at expanding our universe. That sounds a bit sinister, but we had a wee run through not too long ago on a Twitch stream. It seems to have went all right. We're probably going to do a few more Twitch streams of just chat. We'll get Mechanical Hodor on, Gianni, we'll get Colin from over the other end on as well. So yeah, keep tuned for that. But what we're also going to do, and this is all thanks to the Patreon, is I'm going to get some internet hooked up in here, and we're going to look at getting some form of live streaming from the workshop. So if that's something that will interest you, head over to twitch.com/toolsandtrack and hit follow on there, and you'll see lots of interesting stuff coming in that way as well. Cheers for watching guys, we'll be back again next week. Make sure you've hit subscribe if you haven't already done so, and we will see you then. Take it easy. You still seeing that?
No, I can see perfectly fine, mate, yeah. Why would I not be able to? Just trying to find mirror protection, it's not like that's important. So what we need are...
I know what it is, it's silver next to the kettle.
Cool.
For some reason. You hear the story about the crab that was trying to get in a nightclub?
No.
Went in to get the nightclub and they was like, nah, not a night mate. So, how? What's your problem? So we were in here last night, cleaning all that.
Do you have any children you don't know about?
Probably.
Because that was that part.
It's quite likely.